working. Let's see if this does work. Okay, so I am going over Alan Belkin's, I think that's how you say his name, his study of counterpoint, applied counterpoint by Alan Belkin. Here, he's got 24 videos. These first 2 videos are worth noting that on counterpoint talks about counterpoint itself. Counterpoint 1, goals and approach, is self-explanatory, and you can see this is a little shorter. And counterpoint number 2 is learning how to write a vocal melody. I think those are all really important, but for the sake of time, even though these are going to be pretty long, I would love to just start on this third one. It's first species counterpoint. So counterpoint traditionally is the study of multiple melodies happening simultaneously and how they can keep their own continuity and work well with others. And we always like it when people play well with others. So it's always been described to me as the first 5 species of counterpoint, and learning those 5 species is a study and very interesting. But he does all 5 species, and then he goes into 3-part writing, and then he goes into 4-part writing, species from counterpoint to Bach, and then tonal counterpoint, motives and imitation, contrapuntal textures. You can see where I stopped. And contrapuntal textures, instrumental counterpoint, introduction to fugue, invertible, all these different concepts, all the way up to 24, which is, or 22, which is the conclusion. I got up until this point and I realized this was really awesome and that I wanted to do this live with other people. So that's what we're going to try. Okay, so he talks a little bit about what it is, first species, 2 lines, whole notes only is the very first idea. And again, I'm doing this because I think that Alan is a genius and I really enjoy his writing, but he's a little dry. He's very, very intelligent, but it comes off a little dry. And I thought this would be fun just kind of do all together. The person who made these videos for Alan is fabulous and should be celebrated. I don't know who it is. So here's his first Cantus Firmus, which we write against. It's its own thing, and it's good to like steal a Cantus Firmus from something. Here's the first one, and I already put it down. I marked where the high point is in Sibelius. Sibelius thinks this is out of the vocal range, so there, that's the low one. Okay, so let's continue with this. Let's start it.
Contour. We use a given cantus because it's not always easy to write a line which allows for many different solutions. An idiosyncratic line tends to allow for very few possible counterpoints, whereas these given canti are neutral or flexible. Later on, the student will write both voices without using a cantus.
Love it.
Here's an example of first species counterpoint.
Okay, and
I've
then
listed the intervals between the voices.
Yeah, then he like switches the cantus up, which is frustrating. But I've already put this one in, so I'm going to stick with this one. And we're very much in G minor here, and this one's in D major. So I don't know how he deals with different minors yet, but I'm going to assume that it can be any minor when I do mine. He puts his in. Now, fourths and seconds and sevenths are considered dissonant. So you don't want to create seconds, fourths, or sevenths between your voices. He all has thirds, fifths, and sixths is the primarily the idea. Thirds, when they move together, is the they're moving not apart from, I can't think of the word right now. They are moving, not contrasting, but parallel. And if they're sixth together, they're also moving parallel. You can see that sixth going to a third requires a jump, as well as third going to sixth is some sort of jump. But that's when it starts moving across from each other. Now, I know that when you enter a fifth, they aren't to jump to a fifth with parallel motion or similar motion. So you can't, this is rising up to an A. This F couldn't rise up, or if you had a D down here, it couldn't rise up to an E. That would be not parallel fifths, but I believe it's called oblique fifths. Maybe that's not right because oblique is one note not moving. but it is fifths moving in the same direction. And then I believe it has to enter, it has to exit just as it entered. So you see both of these are rising through the fifth, and this one is falling through the fifth. So I'm going to create my own little thing here, and we'll figure out together what it is. So a third above G is going to be B flat, or a sixth is D. I'm going to start with the B flat, sure. Then we have an A, so it would be C or F. I'm going to right away do what he did, and no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to fall down to an A, which is a unison with contrasting motion. Then he jumps up to a C, or it jumps up to a C. We don't want repeated notes, so I'm going to use my fifth here and hope it works out. There's my fifth, and he moves down with the C down here. He moves away from the C this way, so I'm going to assume that I have to move away from it that way. He's got a B flat. Again, my options are G or D. G I can't use, D I can't use, so I am already feeling like this is a bad decision with the G. So I'm going to move this G to an E or an A, and I can't do A because I'm already on that. So I'm going to fall all the way down to an E. Then we go to the B flat. I'm going to keep, then let's try the F here and try the fifth there. And then I'm going to contrast that motion. He's going to an E flat. So I could go to a G, but that would kind of contradict the fifth motion, I believe. So my other option is C, like that, which would be creating a sixth. I think that should be fine. I'm not quite sure about it, but we'll figure it out. I'm also looking at, I started on a B flat and I'm already down to a C, so I definitely don't want to descend anymore. I want to create a high point that's away from this high point. So let's see what we got. We got D over here. So I'm going to ascend probably back to an F maybe. Here's a B flat, so I'm going to go either a D or a G. I'm going to pick the G this time to kind of move myself back up. Here's a C, so I'm going to go A. There we go. We got a little parallel motion there, but it's good because it's in sixths. And then he continues this upward motion up to D, or it continues this motion up to D. I'm going to fall back into F. And then finally we have a G. Let's end on a unison. And since we are in G minor, I'm going to make this F sharp with a leading tone. It's a little strange. I think that the high point is the first note. I don't think that's ideal. I think that's a nice high point. But then there's another one here. So if I move this one down to, what did I say? B flat or D would be a 1, but D would be a fifth. I could create this as a G, start on a unison, and then instead of going to A, because that would be parallel octaves, I can go down to F there and create contrasting motion. Okay, so this looks pretty nice. Here's my high point. I'll type this in, high point, boom. And it looks pretty good. I'm gonna do these intervals here with E. Nope, that's not the right one. How about T? Great. Okay, whatever. Here we've got octave. Great. Let's move this thing out of the way. And here we have a sixth. And here we have a third. And here we have our fifth. That moves in contrasting directions before and after. Here we have a sixth again. And here we have a third. And here we have a sixth. So it's moving back and forth nicely. This one's going to move there. It's going to be another sixth. Yep. There's my high point. And now we have a third. That was a nice movement. Leading tone going to the tonic. So now we have an octave again. So not too many, only once did we repeat six, which is nice. The fifth follows all our rules, started and ended in an octave. I believe that's okay, especially since we're assuming this is G minor. Let's hear it. know. Sounds okay to me. Let's hear more about what Alan has to say.
I've named the intervals all as if they were within one octave.
We did that.
Incidentally, first species does not allow for repeated notes.
There it is.
The cantus here is in the lower voice.
I think my MIDI sounds better than his.
You'll notice that we have only thirds, sixths, and fifths between the parts. While respecting the choral vocal ranges, this is a good counter melody to the cantus. The peaks of the two lines don't arrive at the same time.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
The cantus peaks in the third bar, while the added melody peaks near the end,
I love
the G.
those little mountains. That's hilarious.
The harmonic result is rich, and the cadence is convincing. Note that, although you must have the root of the tonic triad and the bass at the end, the top part can end on any note of the tonic triad.
Well, there you go.
This is the way a good first species exercise should sound. Now a second example, with the same cantus, but now in the top voice. Okay,
I think that's a good idea. Same cantus, but moving it up to the top voice. So let's do that. I'm going to option click it over here. Boom, boom. There we go. Still our high point is the same. Let's try it again. So we're just switching the voice. That's my B flat again. We're going to have different options this time. Hopefully it's fun. Okay. Against an A. Ooh, should we do like a parallel type of movement? No, I don't think yet. I mean a contradictory type of movement. Let's move with it. So C, there it is. Now that guy is going to a C, so we can switch. We can follow him, or we can switch right away down to an A. I like that idea. And then he goes to a B flat. So this might be a cool time to do an octave, B flat, and then again move away from the octave. I don't know what the deal is on that. Maybe that's not the right thing to do. Let's do a jump right there. I like that little fourth jump up to a D, creating a sixth. And then he goes to an E. I think the only way to make that sound good is to go down to a C. Otherwise, this D resolves to this E because this one's jumping, and it might sound weird if this thing does anything but resolve downward. If it jumps up above the E, I think it's going to sound really disjunct. That's my thought, because the D really wants to go up to this E flat, and when we hear that, I think it's going to sound weird. Okay, then we have another D here. Sure, let's follow it down with some third action. We're saying thirds and sixths as if they're in the same octave, rather than calling it a tenth or larger intervals. This goes to B flat here, and we're already on B flat, so we can fall to a G if we want to continue it, or we can take the D's place like that and kind of switch D to B flat to D, which we did over here too, with the A and C to create some continuity. Makes sense. We have two high points, so we want to make sure that we go higher than this D to make a different high point. And here we have C, so let's use our high point here, E flat, ba-boom. Now there's our high point. Oh, you know what? Here's another one. Let's just keep going up. F, excuse me, and then go, no, maybe we do a G? I don't know. We can't end on that. So maybe we just end our high point as the last note. And I'm going to make this leading tone again. And here's our high point. Okay, let's hear it. That's cool ending. This part where it goes up to the E flat, I just want to show you this. If we were to not do contrasting motion here and go to a G, so they're both jumping together, this is what this sounds like. It's actually not terrible. It didn't come out as bad as I thought, but I still prefer this. Oof. Space. Sounds great. Okay, cool. We did this. By the way, if anyone's wondering about my coffee stains here, this just helps to break it up. As you can see, if you're not writing music, it just like turns into monotony. So it kind of creates a visual stasis for me. Okay, let's see how this, what he says. I wonder where you are. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, so this fifth movement, you can see he actually did jump into it the same direction. That surprises me. But then he left it in opposite direction. So maybe it's just the leaving.
This one starts and ends with an octave, but otherwise uses the same intervals as our first example.
Oh, we didn't do intervals for mine, but I talked about them as we did, as we went through it. So here's a sixth. Here's our fifth. And then here's a sixth again. And then here is, what do we have? A third. And then we have a B flat and a D, so that's a sixth or a third again. And then we go back to a sixth here and keep the sixth with parallel motion, keep the sixth again with parallel motion, and then back to octaves.
Once again, the peaks are independent, the cadence is clear, and the result is harmonically rich. Seems easy, doesn't it? Well, now let's look at what can go wrong. First, an example with the same cantus.
Hey. I bet we can figure out. Ooh, that didn't sound nice. Parallel fifths. I heard it. That's nice. Parallel octaves. Parallel fifths here and octaves.
Here,
you can hear it.
Empty fifths and octaves create holes in the context of harmony, which should be rich, filled with thirds and sixths.
Yeah.
Now an example with somewhat more subtle problems.
Okay. That doesn't sound good to me. Ooh, that sounded weird. This sounds weird to me. This F to E and the A to E, like jumping into an octave, maybe sounds weird. This also strikes me as strange. A to C and then B flat to F. That just sounds weird to me. I don't know why. They're also leaving the fifths in the same motion. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Let's figure it out. Or let's hear.
Here in the third bar, both voices move up into a fifth, and the top voice has a leap.
Aha!
This has the effect of accenting the fifth. Problem is that a fifth is not very rich, and here it's a bare moment in an otherwise rich texture.
Oops.
The same thing happens in the bar before the end, with both voices moving in the same direction into an octave. Again, with the top voice
leaping.
As before, the result is disappointing, bare instead of rich.
Okay, so I did that right here. Wait, did I? No. Wait, here's an A and here's a C, so that's not it. That's a D, B flat. Maybe I didn't. C, E. Do I have a fifth in here somewhere? D, B flat, E flat, C, B flat. Maybe I don't have a fifth in there. Let's see my other one. Here's my fifth, B flat to F, and the top voice steps. So that's okay. This is the one I thought it was, but this isn't an F, it's an A. So it looks good, huh? Looks pretty good. Cool.
These are called, respectively, direct fifths and direct octaves.
I didn't hear anything weird in mine anyway.
In two parts. Now another example showing a common problem.
I hate that it's an alto clef. I mean, it's probably good, and I don't mind. That didn't strike me as weird. Did it? Anyone else?
The problem here is that starting at the arrow, the two voices are moving in parallel tenths. They are really no longer independent. Also, it's not a good idea to have the line peak on the leading tone, since it leaves the listener with a feeling that it's somehow incomplete.
Oh, dude, I love these visuals, how it's just getting worse and worse. Also, that's a cool one, that the peak is on a leading tone. So our high point is E flat in G minor, so that's a flat 6. And here our high point is Do. So it's good that we didn't make that our that we didn't change that, you know, from F and then somewhere it went somewhere else. It's cool.
Now a last example.
Tenor clef? Oh my goodness. Is this a good one or a bad one? I don't know. That sounded weird at the end there, huh?
The problem here is that the cadence is not convincing.
Oh.
The cadence has to create clear punctuation. Here, the F natural before the N contradicts the G minor tonality.
Oh, we did it.
The F should descend stepwise.
That makes sense.
And the direct fifth into the last chord.
And it's a direct fifth. Wow.
Now it's time for the students to do some exercises. There's a PDF.
Oh, that was like very validating to know that all the things that I heard, because I'm not reading tenor clef. Like how, you know, I don't know how to read that. Maybe if you're a cellist or a trombonist, you can read that, but I'm not like, I can't like analyze that very quickly, but I could hear that there was something wrong. And he's just like, this is the everything. Okay.
Now it's time for the students to do some exercises. There's a PDF document with several canti available at the link below. The canti should often be transposed since different keys place the voices in different parts of their respective ranges. Remember, respect the vocal ranges, only octaves, fifths, thirds, and sixths between the voices for now. Aim for overall harmonic richness. Not more than 3 bars of parallel movement at a time.
Okay.
Melodic peaks should not coincide.
Nice.
And sing and play.
Nice. Oh, I love that music. Oh. Dude, Alan writes the coolest music, man. I'm like taking this course just because I want to find out how he can write that music in the beginning of this. So I think we did all that. I mean, you know, we've got 2 6ths in a row here, but we didn't get more than 3. This all looks good. I think this is successful. I don't know what a really master of counterpoint would say about it, but I think species 1 accomplished. He also said that he had canti. So I'm going to pull these. Here's some canti for use by students. Okay, so I'm going to open this here. Ba-boom. Dude, look at all these. Who's going to use the tenor and alto clef? You violas and trombones might use it. Look at this one. Melodic minor. What up? Some C minor there. There's only 1 page? Come on. Okay. All right. So that was the first video. I'm going to probably do 1 more video with this live session and see how it goes. Second species. By the way, my computer isn't, look how cool that music is, man. My computer isn't dying anymore, so I can do this.
Now let's move on to second species.
Okay.
Each species introduces a few new elements in a focused way.
Okay.
The student can concentrate on one thing at a time. First species was about combining melodic lines without rhythmic independence and with no dissonance.
Right.
Second species now introduces dissonance.
Yes.
Dissonance creates tension. In a context where the normal sounds are thirds, sixths, and fifths,
yes,
adding seconds, tritones, and sevenths can make the music much richer.
Give me that darkness.
If the result is not the sound random, these dissonant intervals need to be used in a coherent way.
Okay.
This means that, at least in this style, dissonances always depend on the surrounding consonances.
Nice.
They need to be prepared and resolved.
Okay.
You can think of a dissonance as being a dependent. It adds interest, but it can't stand on its own.
Dude, I love these
We
visuals
stick to
so
preparation
much.
and resolution. We'll be talking about using the dissonances in ways which make them fit into the overall context. Of course, there are styles of music where dissonance is much more common.
Okay.
We'll be talking more about this later in the course when we discuss counterpoint in other harmonic styles. Now let's get back to second species and take a closer look.
Get back to whatever.
While still using the same whole note canti, the added part will now be in half notes.
Okay.
This
half
means there will be
against
2
whole
notes in the added part to 1 note in the cantus.
Yeah, okay.
The only bar where we use a